There's something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and hi. I got one of them, A Song of Ice and Fire characters for you. It's Saturday morning, and it's a biggin. It's a very biggin, because we're talking about Moqorro, the Black Flame, the Red Priest, one of the biggest characters I've ever covered. And my thought was like, it's going to be pretty easy, right? He's in like 3 chapters, and he is. That's it. It's not too much, but he's like a huge part of all those chapters. And one of them is literally just a chapter of him and Victorian Greyjoy just doing Victorian Greyjoy stuff, and Moqorro's just standing behind him. So like it ended up being a lot longer than I anticipated, but yeah, whatever. You guys deserve some long ones every once in a while. So yeah. Not as much as I give you. I give you guys a lot of longies. All right, so if you don't know what's going on, this is what's going on. My name is Taco. I'll be doing this thing for you. And spoilers for the A Song of Ice and Fire book. Less for the show, actually. This might be one of the first times where, like, only conjecturally for the show. Like, Westeros exists. Daenerys is in Meereen. It's kind of like he doesn't communicate. Like, none of these characters either exist in the show. Like, Victorian Greyjoy isn't even a show character, and Tyrion is, but he doesn't go on a ship the way he is in here, right? Like, it's a completely different thing. So yeah, let's show spoilers than normal, but let's talk about Moqorro. I'm very excited, and let's make this video not uber long. Moqorro is a red priest in service of the faith of R'hllor, that Lord of Light, right? From the temple of the Lord of Light in Volantis. He is the right hand of the high priest Benerro. Like Melisandre in Benerro, Moqorro claims to see the future in his flames of night fires. Moqorro's skin is black as pitch, darker than coal or jet. He is a monster of a man, huge, over 6 feet tall, as tall as Jorah Mormont and Victorian Greyjoy. So those are the people that he gets compared to. But twice as wide, with a belly like a boulder. So he's a big dude with a tangle of pure white hair that grows from his face like a mane of a lion. Moqorro's voice was a bass drum that seemed to boom from somewhere deep within his massive torso. Yes, I will be doing that impression later. I've been working on it. Moqorro has flame tattoos inked across his face and cheeks and forehead. The tattoos are orange and yellow colored, according to Tyrion Lannister, but they're red and orange, according to Victoria Greyjoy. Who do you believe? Maybe it's like later, like he spent time at sea and maybe his skin got a little messed up because he's literally in the ocean for 10 days. We'll talk about it before Victorian sees him. So maybe that discolored him, or maybe Victorian's colorblind, or maybe George doesn't care and he just wrote fire colors and and it doesn't actually matter. All right. Moqorro wears scarlet robes with sleeves, collar and hem embroidered with orange satin flames. He carries an iron staff as tall as he is, with a dragon head that when he stamped its butt upon the deck, the dragon's maw spit out crackling green flame. That's super cool. He speaks the common tongue as well, with only a hint of an accent. It's really impressive. So he doesn't have a house. So let's just do a little chat about R'hllor itself, because he is a priest of R'hllor. R'hllor, also known as the Lord of Light, the Heart of Fire, and the God of Flame and Shadow, is a prominent god in Essos, but has only a few followers in Westeros, where he is more commonly known as the Red God. The symbol of R'hllor is the fiery red heart, which I got on the screen. Red priests believe prayers to R'hllor at red temples and night fires. They lead prayers at red temples and night fires. The religion is based on a dualistic Manichean view of the world. R'hllor, the god of light, heat, and life, and R'hllor's antithesis, the great other, the god of ice and death. They are locked in internal struggle over the fate of the world, a struggle that, according to ancient prophecies from the books of Ashai, will only end when Azor Ahai, the messianic figure, returns wielding flaming sword called Lightbringer, the red sword of heroes, and raises dragons from stone. The Temple of the Lord of Light is a red temple in Volantis, dedicated to the god Relor, the Lord of Light. The temple is protected by a private army of slave soldiers known as the Fiery Hand, which we will talk about later, and its high priest is Benerro. So, yeah, I wanted to just throw a little bit on of the temple at the end, that last little paragraph, mostly because that's where Moqorro is actually from. So, yeah. All right. Going to Karth, but not really. So before we get to that, let's talk. In Marine, Quaithe, I'm like kind of jumping a lot of stuff. If you don't know who Quaithe is, she's somebody who visits Daenerys in Karth, and then later on, I'm assuming from a glass candle, because she literally appears and she says, the glass candle is burning. So maybe by using a glass candle, she visits Daenerys later on in Marine, and that's when this scene takes place. I'm only bringing it up because Moqorro is most likely mentioned here by her. So so she shows up in this chapter and says, speaks to Dany saying, no, hear me, Daenerys Targaryen. The glass candles are burning. Soon comes the pale mare, and after that, the others. Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son and the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the perfume Seneschal. Look out for the look out for that. Dark Flame. Oh yeah. Look out for that. Dark Flame because Dark Flame because that is definitely Moqorro. I don't know why I worded that so bad, but yeah, the Dark Flame most likely is Moqorro, and actually he gets called that later on. So I literally just did that because we know that all these people, and we could break them down really quick. The perfume Seneschal is pretty much the only one that a lot of people haven't figured out. Although I like have a weird little theory somewhere in here, but yeah, the Sun's Son would be Quentin Martell. The Mummer's Dragon most likely is Aegon Targaryen, aka Young Griff, or fake Aegon, or real Aegon. I'm a big Rhaegon fan. Not really. Kraken would be Victorian Greyjoy. Dark Flame, Moqorro. Lion most likely is Tyrion, and Griffin is John Connington. So yeah, and then the perfume Seneschal, that one's kind of up for grabs. Some people think Varys, some people think other people in her court. I got a little tiny thing here. I don't know if I'm like behind it, but it's weird. I never hear it get brought up. But anyways, we'll talk about it later. Moqorro is sent by Benerro, the high priest of the temple of the Lord of Light in Volantis, to offer guidance to help Daenerys Targaryen. The huge guy is on the I'm gonna have to say it a lot. The Celisori Quran, with Tyrion Lannister, Penny, and Jorah Mormont. So the Celisori Quran, however you say it, Celisori Quran, is a ship, and why Penny and Tyrion are on it. If you want kind of like a prequel to this video, check out my Widow of the Waterfront video, because that's when Jorah Mormont and Tyrion get like access to this ship that is supposed to be going to Karth. And she does say, and I'm going to say it again later, that it's like, yeah, but we don't want to go to Karth. And she's like, don't worry, it's not going to make it to Karth. And he thinks it means one thing, but yeah, we find out later what that means. But Moqorro is on that ship as well. So yeah, because he's trying to get to Marine. So yeah, 7 days after sailing from Volantis to Karth, but Tyrion was told that when they left that it will not reach Karth. Keep that in mind. It was dusk when the Red Priest had his night fire in the Great Iron Brazier amidships as the crew gathered around it to pray. Ready? We thank you for your sun that keeps us warm. We thank you for your stars that watch over us. as we sail this cold Black Sea. With him are his guardsmen, 5 slave warriors called the Fiery Hand, who Tyrion starts to just call the Fingers, which is pretty funny, led the responses, and they chanted in the old tongue of Volantis. But Tyrion had heard the prayers enough that he kind of grasped it. So this is not a one-to-one translation because his Volantine isn't great. But yeah, this is kind of what Tyrion assumes they're saying. Light our fire and protect us from the dark, blah, blah. Light our way and keep us toasty warm. The night is dark and full of terrors. Save us from the scary things, blah, 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 some more. Tyrion knew it better than to voice his mocking thoughts out loud. Yeah, because Moqorro's giant and scary. Moqorro. Night fires. But Moqorro was the true master of the... Wait. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I wrote that weird. Moqorro was the true master of the Selisori Quran, at least for the voyage. Lord of Light, bless your slave Moqorro and light his way in the dark places of the world. The Red Priest boomed and defend your righteous slave Benerro. Grant him courage, grant him wisdom, fill his heart with fire. When the evening prayers had ended and the ship's crew had once again... Oh, I cut myself off. I think we'll be able to figure it out. Dang it. I kind of cut off some of my words here. Yeah, the crew had once again dispersed. Moqorro remained beside his night fire as he did every night. The Red Priest rest the day but kept the vigil through. Here, let me do something really quick. Boop. Okay, I'm back. Where was I at? So yeah, Moqorro remained beside his night fire. Right? Yeah. Beside his night fire, and as he did every night, the Red Priest rested by day, but kept the vigil through the dark hours to tend his sacred flames so that the sun might return to them at dawn. Tyrion squatted across from him and warmed his hands against the night's chill. Moqorro took no notice of him for several moments. He was staring into the flickering flames, lost in some vision. After a time, Moqorro raised his eyes to meet Tyrion's. Hugor Hill, he said, inclining his head in a solemn nod. Have you come to pray with me? Tyrion joked, saying that the night is dark and full of terrors, and he asked what he saw in his flames. Moqorro spoke in the common tongue of Westeros. Dragons old and young, true and false, bright and dark. You know, a small man with a big shadow snarling. And you, sorry, not you know, and you. A small man with a big shadow snarling in midst of it all. Tyrion was flattered, but jokes that maybe he saw Penny instead because they are the same height. Penny is a little dwarf girl that is with Tyrion. If the show watchers don't know who Penny is. Tyrion is flattered. Yeah. Moqorro simply answers, no, my friend. Tyrion wonders when they became friends and asks when they'll get to Meereen. You are eager to behold the world's deliverer. Yeah. All right. Hopefully I didn't cut off any of the other ones. So what I did is I literally just took the words and put them on this screen. So I was looking this way at my other screen to read that. I thought that was better than just editing randomly. So let's jump back really quick here. Because he said something really cool. So when he's talking about dragons, old and young, so it sounds like Daenerys, even though she's not old, and young would be Aegon Targaryen, true and false, bright and dark. Bright as in maybe the red dragon of Targaryen, dark as maybe Blackfire, and you small man with a big shadow. So I really do feel like these are hints of the differences between Daenerys and Aegon. And I also think that that Tyrion is smart enough to possibly pick that apart. Like, how does he know about Aegon? Although Tyrion doesn't actually know or have any idea yet that Aegon is not actually Aegon. But yeah. So near Valyria, Tyrion says no. What do they say? Are you eager to behold the world's deliverer? Tyrion says no, and asks if the ship's name, Salisoria Kuran, was named after a triarch or a turtle, because it's one of those, right? The huge man chuckled. Neither. Kuran is not a ruler, but one who sees and counsels such, and helps conduct his business. You of Westeros might say steward or magister. Tyrion asks about the word Salisori, and Moqorro touched his nose, imbued with pleasant aroma, flagrant, one would say, flowery. Tyrion asks, so Salori Kran means stinky steward, more or less? Flagrant steward, rather. Moqorro answers. Tyrion thanks him for the lesson, and Moqorro says, I am pleased to have enlightened you. Perhaps someday you will let me teach you the truth of R'hllor as well. Tyrion says someday he thinks, but when his head is on a spike. Let me do something really quick. Okay, sorry I keep pausing on you guys today. But yeah, let's talk about the Salisori Kuran really quick, because this is not something that I'm bringing up later. But I never realized that it's literally called, that the ship is called the perfumed seneschal, right? Because a seneschal is a steward or a advisor, a maester, right? Somebody like that. And perfumed as in flagrant, not like stinky like Tyrion says, but he literally says, no, like sweet smelling, flowery, flagrant. So is it beware the perfume seneschal, not talking about a person, but the fact that this ship has two of the people that are on their way to, like, the Lion and the Black Flame. That's like, I don't know, maybe that's what they mean by perfume seneschal. It's a random, I never thought about that before, but writing this chapter, that slide, it was like the first time I've really gone through what Moqorro is saying. I go word for word because I'm typing it down, right? And I was like, wait, stinky steward is a perfume seneschal, right? Tell me if I'm crazy, but maybe that's like an idea. Maybe the perfume seneschal isn't any one person, but actually just this ship, right? Okay. One night when Tyrion is plagued by nightmares, he gets up and finds Moqorro on deck, set by his blazer, where there are small flames dancing amongst the embers, a dull red glow in the sky in the northeast. Tyrion asks Moqorro what time it is, and he says that it can't be sunrise, at least if east has moved. So it said, northeast. So it's more north than east, right? Unless it is moved east. The sky is always red above Valyria, Hugor Hill. Tyrion gets a chill and asks if they are close, and Moqorro says, closer than the crew will like. Do you know the stories in your sunset kingdoms? Tyrion confirms and thinks about his uncle Tyrion Lannister. I don't know how people say it, Tyrion Lannister, and asks if the fire of the 14 flames, 14 or 14,000. What man dares to count them? It is not wise for mortals to look deeply into those fires, my friend. Those are the fires of God's own wrath, and no human flame can match them. We are small creatures, men. I like Moqorro. I like doing the Moqorro voice. We got a lot, though, so let's keep going. Storm coming. So Tyrion asks if the captain means to test the curse, and Moqorro answers back, our captain would prefer to be 50 leagues further out to sea, well away from that accursed shore, but I have commanded him to steer the shortest course. Others seek Daenerys too. Tyrion knows of Griff, but doesn't say anything and asks Moqorro if he has seen others in the fires. Only their shadows, Moqorro said. One most of all, a tall and twisted thing with black eye and 10 long arms sailing on a sea of blood. Dude's just so metal all the time. Yeah, so that's clearly Euron Greyjoy, right? Is who the big tentacle one, black eye, because he's got his smiling eye, and then his evil eye is crow's eye and tentacles, right? So, yeah, a lot of people are going there, and clearly he's like, oh, and and yeah, the Euron is the scariest one who seeks Daenerys. Still on board the Celisori Quran. I wish I was good at reading words. Tyrion jousts Penny on top of Penny's pretty pig. So they have a little jousting against Penny on their dog Crunch and him on Pretty Pig for the amusement of the crew in hopes that it would sweeten their mood. Yeah, just a little bit of fun. Well, the ship has been floating, beclaimed in the Gulf of Grief. Afterwards, Tyrion and Penny noticed that there was a huge storm creeping up on them as Moqorro and 2 of his fiery fingers joined them in the stern castle. It was only midday, but the Red Priest and his men did not normally emerge till dusk, so there must be a reason why they're up this early, right? The priest gave him a solemn nod. There you see it, Hugor Hill, God's wrath. The Lord of Light will not be mocked. Tyrion says that the Widow of the Waterfront warned him that the ship will not reach her destination. But he thought that it would just meant that they were going to Marine, not Karth. And like somebody's going to take it or something like that. Or Moqorro would just take over and then just like bring it there. But he asked if that's what the high priest said. And Moqorro's deep voice toiled as solemnly as a funeral bell. No. That this is what he saw. And he lifted his staff and inclined its head towards the west. Tyrion and Penny were best to hide behind decks or below deck. So Tyrion thought, oh, Moqorro's just going to commandeer the ship because he's already pretty much in charge of the ship already, right? And then just like bring it to Marine, and that's how we're going to get to Marine. But Moqorro's like, no, that storm is why this ship's not going to make it to Karth. Like, oh, dang. Lost in the storm. Later around midnight, Tyrion made his way back to deck and saw that they were in the eye of the storm. He found Moqorro standing at the forecastle facing the storm, his staff raised above his head, and as he boomed in prayer. Amidship, 12 sailors and 2 fiery fingers were struggling, but whether they were trying to raise the sail again or pull it down, Tyrion did not know. Whatever they were doing, it seemed to him a very bad idea. Yeah, why are you bringing your sail back up if that's what you're trying to do? Get the sail down. Like, the wind is crazy. But they are in the eye of the storm, or at least that's how I interpreted it, because he says he came up and then he saw stars above them, but he saw storm like surrounding in every direction. He said there were storm west, east, north, south. So that made me just think that they're literally in the eye of the storm. So yeah. Where was I? Whatever it was a bad idea. Yeah. And so it was that the wind returned, and as a whispered threat, cold and damp, brushing over his cheek, flapping the wet sail. Swirling and tugging at Moqorro's secret or scarlet robes, some instinct made it Tyrion grab hold of the nearest rail. Just in time, the space of 3 heartbeats, the little breeze became a howling gale. Moqorro shouted something, and green flames leapt from the dragon's maw atop his staff to vanish into the night. Then rains came black and blinding, and Fair Castle and Stern both vanished behind the wall of water. So, yeah, it washed Moqorro's like at the tip of the ship, I think, right? And then right when this big gale in water, boom, nailed the ship, Moqorro's gone. So he gets washed overboard, right? So 10 days. So now we're leaving Tyrion. Don't worry about Tyrion and Penny. That's not, we're following Moqorro, right? So yeah, Moqorro gets washed over. End of that story. 10 days after the storm, Grief, the ship of Roderick Spar, discovers Moqorro clinging to wreckage in the sea. Victorian Greyjoy is anchored near the Isle of Cedars, right outside Slaver's Bay, to find Daenerys Targaryen. He was sent by his brother Euron to command the Iron Fleet and bring Dany to him. But Victorian means to take her to wife himself. Yeah. The more I read Victorian chapters, the more I think of him as like a real straight up villain. And when I first read him, I read him a lot more heroic. And I don't know why. Because when I go back, I'm like, he's not heroic at all. He's an idiot and he's super violent. And yeah, the more I read him, it's like he's almost equal, maybe not equal parts villain as Euron, because Euron's like next level. But Victorian definitely is a bad dude. At least that's how I interpret Victorian. So found by the Kraken, Victorian's shield hand was hurt during the taking of the Shield Isles, and a wound that has festered. So if you want two videos that kind of like lead up to the second half here, right? Make sure you watch my Talbot Sari video, which I'm very proud of, and my Maester Kerwin video that I had a little Maester week last year, and I covered Maester Kerwin, and that's like literally the other half of this chapter. So you got one chapter for the next like 4 slides here, and all that is all like the other half of this. I want to say it's the Iron Suitor chapter. Here, let me find out really quick. Where was I? Found by the Kraken. Yeah, I looked it up really quick. Yeah, this is the Iron Suitor chapter, and the other chapter that Moqorro will be in. The last one will be just Victorian 1, also in Dance of Dragons. All of this is in A Dance with Dragons, so the final book so far. So yeah. If you want to know what's going on with Victorian's hand, watch my video for Talbot Sari and for Maester Kerwin. That's all I was trying to say. All right, so the wound that he got on his shield hand was from Talbot Sari, and it is now festered. Maester Kerwin is forced to serve Victorian Greyjoy by his brother Euron, and he has little success treating the wound. The 54th ship to arrive was Roderick Spar's Grief. Longwater Pike, who's a member of the crew on Iron Victory, Victorian ship, pounded on Victorian's cabin door to tell him that the captain of Grief had come aboard with a prisoner, a wizard he fished out of the sea. Vic thinks that the wizard might be a gift from the Drowned God because he fished it out of the sea, and he goes to see him. Roderick Spar, who is a man that they call the Vole, presents the wizard and says, "This is Moqorro, a gift to us from the Drowned God." The Vole goes on to explain that they found him clinging to a broken spar 10 days in the water. Vic says that if that were true, he'd be dead or mad from drinking seawater. Yeah, you can't float in the ocean for 10 days. Vic says that if the man, if he claims to be a sorcerer, Victorian answers in the common tongue. His voice was so deep it seemed to come from the bottom of the sea. The sea. "No, Captain, I am but a humble slave of R'hllor, the Lord of Light." A red priest, Vic thought, and his red robes must have been faded, so Vic calls him the Pink Priest because his red robes have been in seawater for 10 days. Wolf One Ear spits and calls him a demon priest. Longwater Pike jokes that he must have caught fire, so he jumped into the sea. The joke made people and the monkeys. There are monkeys on the ship. I'm not like saying that there's literally monkeys from the Isle of Cedar that have got onto the ship and they're just jumping all over and throwing poop around. And Victorian hates it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, so he makes a joke about, oh, you must have caught fire. Your red robes must have caught fire and you jumped into the sea. So this joke made people and the monkeys aboard laugh. Vic hated laughter. Victorian Greyjoy, I just call him Vic in this, just hates laughter because he doesn't get jokes and he doesn't have much of humor, and doesn't have much of a humor, I guess. I don't know. Is that how I would say it? He's not a humorous guy. And he's much of a sense of humor. Thank you. And when people are laughing, since he doesn't understand jokes, he just assumes he's being laughed at. So what an idiot. All right. So he hated laughter. Burton Humble says that they should send him to the drowned god. Wolf One Ear asks what happened to the ship, and Moqorro answers, a storm. The wizard. Moqorro crossed his arms against his chest. He did not appear frightened, though all around him men were calling for his death. Even the monkeys did not seem to like the wizard. They leapt from line to line overhead screaming. Vic was uncertain and asked why he is labeled a wizard when he is just a red priest of R'hllor, right? Like, you're a red priest. We've all seen red priests. Why are you a wizard? The Vole says that he thought the same at first, but the man knows things. He knew where they were going and that Vic was there. He told the Vole that Vic would die unless he was brought to him. Vic was about to have have him killed before his infection's hand throbbed and he almost vomits. And catches himself before falling. So, yeah, he's thinking like, yeah, let's just have him killed. And then before he could say it, his infected hand pulses, and then he's like, ah, and then he feels bile in his throat, and he's like, all right, geez, because he's literally dying from this infection, right? So yeah, where was I? So he's about to have him killed, and then he catches himself. So a voice, we don't know who says it, one of his men, claims that the sorcerer has cursed the captain, and that's why he fell over in pain, that it's the wizard is doing it. And the other men call for his death. Some of them pull out daggers and other steel. Vic tells them to put the steel away. He sends a Vole back to his ship and tells Humble to bring the wizard to his cabin. But no one moves. And then Victorian just seizes the sorcerer by the arm and pulls him into the hatchway like he's, whatever, I'll take him to the cabin. As he opened the door to the cabin, the dusky woman, who I'm not covering in this video's way too long already, talking about Moqorro. So, yeah, dusky woman is a woman that was given to him by Euron Greyjoy. There's a lot of really creepy theories about the Dusky Woman. I'm not going to bring up the Dusky Woman. So the Dusky Woman turned towards him silent and smiling, but when she saw the Red Priest at his side, her lips drew back from her teeth, and she hissed in a sudden fury like a snake. Victorian gave her the back of his hand, bam, and knocked her to the deck, and tells her to get some wine, and he asks Moqorro if it's true that he saw his death. That and more, the wizard answered. So yeah, don't hit women. Don't hit each other at all. Jeez. But yeah, the more I did this video, the more I was like, thank you, D-bag, man. I'm not a big fan. All right, his hand. Vic asks where and when and warns him that if he lies, Vic will kill him and let the monkeys eat his brains. Moqorro said, your death is with us now, my lord. Give me your hand. Yeah, you're about to die. Vic asks what he knows about his hand, and he says, I have seen you in the night fires, Victorian Greyjoy. You come striding through the flames, stern and fierce, your great axe dripping with blood, blind to the tentacles that grasp your wrists and neck and ankle, the black strings that make you dance. Vic tells him that the fires lie because he is not made for dancing, and he is no man's puppet. He's like, I don't dance. I don't care. Can't carry rhythm at all. But he then presents his nasty hand to the wizard, saying he scratched at us. That he scratched it on a rose, right? Because Talbot Sari has a rose on his sigil and it scratched his hand, right? The wizard claims even the smallest scratch can prove mortal, Lord Captain. But if you will allow me, I will heal this. I will need a blade. Silver would be best, but iron will serve. A brazier as well. I must needs to light a fire. There will be pain, terrible pain, such you have never known. But when we are done, your hand will be returned to you. Vic says he laughs at pain, but tells him that if he fails, he'll cut his throat and throw him into the sea. Moqorro bowed, his dark eyes shining. So be it. The Iron Captain was not seen again that day, but as the hours passed, the crew from the Iron Victory reported hearing wild laughter coming from the captain's cabin, laughter deep and dark and mad. And when the men tried the door, they found it barred. Later, singing was heard, a strange high wailing sound, sung in a language the maester said was High Valyrian. But when the monkeys left that was when the monkeys left the ship, screeching as they leapt into the water. So I talked about it in my Maester Kerwin video, but this is, as far as I can tell, the only time the POV of the chapter leaves the POV character. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. Because we follow him, and then when he goes into the cabin to get his hand checked on by Moqorro, the view pans back out and then watches the ship, and we just hear the laugh. So it's even like the camera is too afraid to go into the cabin, which I find really cool. If you have other instances of the POV leaving the main character, the POV character, let me know. But I have not seen that before, right? As far as I know from the Maester Kerwin video, I did research looking for that. And if you have an instance, you can let me know. But I am pretty sure it's the only time it happens in the entire books. The blackened hand comes some sunset as the sea turned black as ink, and the swollen sun tinted the sky deep and bloody red. Vic came out on the deck. He was naked from his waist up, and his shield arm was bloody to the elbow. Wisps of dark smoke raised from his fingers, and he pointed at the maester. That one, cut his throat and throw him in the sea. The winds will favor us all the way to Marine. Moqorro told him that he had seen that in his fires. He had seen it Dany wed too. But Vic thought, how she will not be the first woman that Victorian Greyjoy made a widow. Sorry, I kind of chopped that up. He's like, yeah, but Daenerys just got married, and that's to his Darzo Lorak, right? The Lorak, he speaks for the trees. And Vic is like, dude, I've made women widows before. I'm not worried about it. Days later, so now we're skipping to, I believe the rest of this will be from the chapter Victorian 1. Days later, the Iron Fleet was sweeping down on a ship. They sighted her in the narrows between the Isle of Cedars and the rugged hills, Astapor hinterlands, just as the Black Priest Moqorro had seen that they would. He's like, no, that ship's going to be there. The ship was a big trading galley, a fine prize, and he signaled to his captains to give chase. Their prize was named the Giscari Don. The galley's captain said that he was delivered, said when he was delivered to Vic in chains, and Moqorro translated the captain's words into the common tongue. The war for Marine was won. The captain claimed that the Dragon Queen was dead, and a Giscari named Hizdak, Hizdahr zo Lorak, ruled the city now. Victorian had his tongue torn out for lying, and saying Daenerys Targaryen was dead. Moqorro cursed him as he saw in the flames. So yeah, they capture a ship, and this guy's like, dude, Dany's already dead and married a dude named Hizdak, which isn't true. Neither of those things. She married his daughter Zolorak, and yeah, he has his tongue cut out and then tossed overboard. So that's pretty funny. Or is he set on fire? Was not dead. Moqorro assured him as he saw his flames. No. It's just Moqorro going, Dany's not dead. Don't listen to the guy. Capturing prey. He then had the Giscara's captain toss him into the sea. There I go, promising Moqorro that the Red God will get his due. Don't worry, I'm going to burn somebody for you later. But the seas are ruled by the Drowned God. Moqorro says, there are no gods but R'hllor and the other, whose name may not be said. So yeah, this entire time, these guys are very Drowned God-y. The entire time, Moqorro keeps saying, like, Drowned God doesn't exist, guys. There is no Drowned God. And he just has the balls to just say that in front of all these crazy Ironborn Reavers, right? The sorcerer priest was not garbed in... And now garbed in somber black, but for a hint of golden thread at the collars and cuffs of the hem. Since there was no red cloth on the Iron Victory, Vic commanded Tom Tidewood to sew new robes for him from whatever he had at hand. Of black and gold, who were the arms of House Greyjoy, he showed a golden kraken on a black field, and the banners of the sails of their ships displayed the same. So yeah, Vic had like literally made like a Greyjoy robe for him, right? Vic had hoped that his men might accept Moqorro more easily once he is clad in Greyjoy colors. The crew shunned him when he walked the deck, and men would spit at his shadow, chance fall upon them. Even the Vole, who had fished the Red Priest out from the sea, had urged Victorian to give him to the Drowned God. But Moqorro knew these strange shores in ways the Ironborn did not, and secrets of the dragon kind as well. The crow's eye keeps wizards. Why shouldn't I? Victorian thought. Vic tells Moqorro that he will rename the ship that they captured from Giscari Dawn to the Red God's Wrath. The wizard bowed his head as the captain says. Sailing closer to Marine. The fleet was now 54 ships again, right? It was 53, now it's 54. But the next day, a sudden swell descended from them. Moqorro had predicted that as well. And when the rains moved on, 3 ships were found have vanished. Moqorro assured him that the 3 ships were not lost. We lost 3 ships, but we're going to get them back. Each night, the sorcerer priest would kindle a fire on the forecastle of the Iron Victory and stalk around the flames, chanting prayers. One oarsman heard to say that the priest is calling demons down on them. When that was reported, Vic had the man scourged, like whipped, until his back was blood from shoulders to buttocks, right? So just whipped the crap out of him. So when Moqorro said, your lost lambs will return to the flock off the Isle of Yoras, the captain warned the priest that if they did not come back, like if these 3 ships did not come back, he will be whipped next. That next day, they captured another ship. And that night at the night fires, Vic asked Moqorro what they will see on the morrows, and he said, gray skies and strong winds, no rain. Behind come the tigers, ahead awaits your dragon. The crew has started calling him a Black Flame. Hey, we've heard that before, right? Since Moqorro was heard to say for some. Since Moqorro was hard to say for some. Yeah, they call him the Black Flame because Moqorro is a hard word for some of the Ironborn, right? Moqorro predicts 2 more ships they will find. He has killed he kills the captains for, so yeah, they find 2 more ships, and Victorian kills the captains for claiming Dany was dead and freed the slaves on the ships. The arm the priest had healed was now hideous to look upon, pork crackling from elbow to fingertips. Sometimes when Vic closed his hand, the skin would split and smoke, yet his arm was stronger than it's ever been. So yeah, his hand that he fixed is now literally like a big crackling black burned hand, but he feels it strong, but it's literally smoking, right? It's sick. It's a sick dragon hand, essentially, right? So where was I? It's stronger than it's ever been, and Vic thinks 2 gods are with me now, Vic claimed. Later, he came upon the 3 ships that they lost, just like Moqorro said. So they keep finding more ships, and Moqorro keeps predicting things, which makes Vic trust him more and more. This might end up being the longest video I've ever done. All right, here we go. Sacrifices. The longest character video I've ever done. Vic kills a fisherman for mocking him for not knowing that the Dothraki Sea is not made of water. When he learns where Dany is, yeah, this guy goes, yeah, the dragon returned, picked her up, and brought her to the Dothraki Sea. And he goes, I will sail the Dothraki Sea. And the dude's like, it's made of grass, you idiot. And he's like, cool, you're dead. And he's be careful. So he tosses the man overboard to the drowned god. Pretty much this whole chapter is they capture ships and he kills people. Let's keep going. So he tosses the man overboard, and he tells him, and Moqorro tells him, your drowned god is a demon, no more than a thrall to the other, the dark god whose name must not be spoken. Vic warns him not to speak like that. Yeah, don't say that. And the Black Priest bows his head. There is no need. The Lord of Light has shown me your wrath, Lord Captain. Every night in my fires, I glimpse the glory that awaits you. Keeps blowing smoke up Vic's butt, and Vic just eats it all up. They capture a slaver galley from Yunkai in the cities due north of the Yellow City. In the holds were 20 perfumed boys and 80 girls destined for the pleasure houses in Lease. Some girls get given to captains, and some are made salt wives. The perfumed boys are tossed into the sea. And a show of appreciation, Victorian burns 7 Lysini bed slaves that he picks as tribute to both the drowned god and R'hllor. So, yeah, I wanted to move past this, but there is more talked about it where he picks these 3 girls specifically out of the 80 of girls. He picks 7 of them and, yeah, puts them to the flames, lights them on fire, right? Yeesh. Like I said, this whole chapter is just they capture ships and kill more people. So yeah, he burns the 7 girls. A couple of nights later, Vic brings forth the dragon horn that the Crow's Eye had found amongst the smoking wastes of Great Valyria. A twisted thing that was 6 feet long, from end to end, gleaming black and banded with red, gold, and dark Valyrian still. Valyrian glyphs, Moqorro called them. Vic asked what they said, and Moqorro answered, much and more. Here the horn is named, I am Dragonbinder, it says. Have you heard it sound? And Vic says, yeah, at the King's Moot. And then he tells him, like, yeah, we heard it at the King's Moot. And then he tells him about how the blower died after that, the guy who blew the horn, right? Moqorro turned the hell horn, right? Looked at it, examining the queer letters that crawled across the second of the golden bands. Here it says, no mortal man should sound me live. Vic gets angry at Euron's poison gifts because, yeah, all of Euron's gifts are poison. It's something he says over and over again about both the Dusky Woman and this horn, asking how it could bind dragons to his will if the price is death. Your brother did not sound the horn himself, nor must you. Moqorro pointed to the bound of steel. Here, blood for fire, fire for blood. Who blows the hell horn matters not. The dragons will come to the horn's master. You must claim the horn with blood. So so now we're getting that chapter's done, Victorian 1. So now we're jumping to the Victorian sample chapter of Winds of Winter. So I always do a disclaimer anytime I do Winds of Winter stuff that the book isn't out yet. So everything I'm about to say is subject to change because books change from rough drafts moving on, right? So yeah, in the Victorian Winds of Winter sample chapter, we see Vic. And this is like a small excerpt of it. We don't even get the full chapter. We see Vic planning on using the horn. Vic picks 3 huge oarsmen and has Moqorro show them the horn. Vic tells them about Clegorn, who is the guy who was blowing it at the King's Moot 3 times and him dying, right? He tells them that they will only blow it once. They might die, but they are sailing into battle and will probably die anyways, right? Like blowing the horn might kill you, but you're probably going to die anyways. But if you live, Vic says that he will grant them wives and land, and men will know their names. All 3 of them agree, so they're just huge oarsmen. Like you grab like the biggest dudes you can get, right? All 3 of them agree, and he dismisses them and tells them, he dismisses them until he needs them, right? The chapter ends when Moqorro's dark eyes shine, and he says, I think Vic like asks him what he sees, and he says, I see dragons. And that's the end of the excerpt that we got from the Winds of Winter chapter for Vic. So we know that he is getting ready for some type of a big blood sacrifice. I'm assuming binding the horn to him, and then he's having these people blow the horn, right? So Moqorro's helping him with that. So yeah, let's get into it. Moqorro's plan. So all right, first, Moqorro is awesome, but he's also extremely scary. Him being paired with Vic is also very terrifying. You have 2 very scary people, since he can so easily manipulate the already very violent Victorian Greyjoy and use him for his purpose. I absolutely think, I think it's pretty plain that Moqorro has no love for him and he's just using him. Yeah, he keeps blowing smoke up his ass. He's like, I've seen you in the flames and you're super cool and stuff, right? So it's just making Vic like him more and more. And it's also keeping Moqorro alive, because if he was a dick to Vic, Vic will probably just have him killed, and all of his men want him killed anyways, right? So he definitely is just playing Victorian Greyjoy. I think that that's very clear. I also found an oldie but a goodie. So when I was looking for theories on this, and I know Quinn's Ideas doesn't make, so the channel Quinn's Ideas, Quinn doesn't make A Song of Ice and Fire vids anymore, but he is awesome. I love Quinn. And he was one of the first A Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers I found. So I found, I think Rawrist was actually the first I found. But then I found Alt Shift X, of course, and then I don't know which one of those I found first, and then In Deep Geek. But I found Quinn's Ideas, and he was doing videos with David Lightbringer, who's Lucifer means Lightbringer at the time, LOL at the time, but now he's David Lightbringer, and they were doing videos together, and that's how I found both of them at the same time, and I love both of them. And Quinn now has moved on from A Song of Ice and Fire stuff, but yeah, where was I? He made made a vid back in 2016 called A Song of Ice and Fire Theories, Moqorro, Victorian's Priest. And it's a fun little listen. It's a smaller video, especially compared to the one I'm doing right now. He contemplates if Vic is being controlled by Moqorro, and that he might get his power of the dragon when the horn is being used. Yeah, because it's whoever controls the horn. But he's controlling and manipulating Victorian. So he might get the dragons when the horn is used. He thinks it's very clear that he is hiding details from his visions and views. The yeah, he views the Greyjoys, both of them, as threats, and he seeks power for himself. Go watch it. Tell Quinn I said hi. But yeah, I think that's all very clear that he is manipulating 100%. Whenever Vic's like, what do you see? He's just saying, we learn from Melisandre's chapters that when you see much and more, you say that when you don't see anything, right? And he even goes, much and more. He is doing all the weird manipulations that we know that Melisandre does, right? To make, sometimes they see stuff, sometimes they don't. But no one knows what you actually see, so you kind of give information. Yeah, he's manipulating. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like he definitely has Vic wrapped around his finger. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. I think Moqorro is easily a villain that we're gonna learn. Like, I think he's bad news. I really do. He scares the crap out of me. So this video ended up being gigantic. Probably one of my longest character vids I've ever done. So I'm ending it now. Thank you. If you made it this far, holy crap, you're awesome. I think if you want to listen to my dumb voice for almost an hour, that deserves a like, right? So please click like and share this to anyone who loves the Song of Ice and Fire content. And yeah, what do you think is going on with Moqorro? And I got to get out of here. I spent way too long. Peace. And I will be for sure put that Quinn's Ideas video in the description. All right, fine. Peace.